Hello all you beautiful, wonderful, friendly people, otherwise known as friendlies. How's it going? I thought I would shoot you a real-time video today. It is Thursday, April 4th. 2019, and I thought I would do a little bit of a campsite, I'm going to call it a campsite chat. There's a few things I kind of wanted to update you on, and some other things I just wanted to kind of talk with you about. We'll kind of shoot the bull today. What do you say? A couple of things right off the bat. I've been on the road 3 years. I've been living in my RV for 3 years this month. I think April 1st I started living in my RV full-time 3 years ago. And I've got some thoughts and ruminations, I think that's the right word, on those. And so I thought I would share those with you. I also wanted to update you on a couple other things, kind of a couple loose ends. Number one was the End Cyberbullying Challenge. I wanted to update you on that and give a shout out to a couple of channels who took the challenge. And I also wanted to update you on where I am with grieving Capone. It's been 6 months Tuesday. Tuesday was 6 months since he passed, and I know I haven't really talked about it much lately. I've actually been, kind of working through my grief, and as long as I don't talk about him, at least the last several months, I've been okay. You've seen my videos where I look happy and I look like I'm back to my normal self. Just, don't ask me about Capone. Yeah. As long as I don't talk about him, I have been okay. And so we'll see if I can make it through this video without crying. But I'm going to give you an update on kind of where I am on that. I'm also going to answer a couple questions, or actually give some input to a couple of comments I have seen on Facebook recently. One is from a member of the CarolynsRVLIFE fan club on Facebook, and the other was from some other RVing forum. I saw a question posted by somebody, or actually a comment, and I kind of want to respond to that, and I'll do that at the end. All right, so welcome to my camp. Let's chat. So first of all, a lot of you are asking about follow-up on the cyberbullying video that I did and the arrest that was made and the death threat. And I'm not going to do any more follow-ups about the death threat. I thought it was really important to talk about the fact that an arrest had been made. I think it's really important to shed light on the fact that this is what's happening to YouTube creators, that this is out there, this is real, and it's serious. And some people might think, I've said this before, some people might think that this is all funny and fun and games, and they can do parody channels and scream fair use, and they think it's funny, but really what happens is certain elements of the community take it too far and death threats happen. The reason I bring up death threats and the reason I bring up the cyberbullying and the harassment is because I think that most people don't know that this is kind of the dark underbelly of the internet, and it's the dark underbelly of YouTube and being a YouTube creator. And nothing changes until we spread awareness, right? Until people become aware that there's a problem, there's no impetus for change. And since I have been on YouTube, I've read, half a dozen biographies of women who have gone through just the most horrendous cyberbullying and harassment to the point that it has ruined their lives. And so this is why I don't shy away from difficult subjects, and subjects that might be even uncomfortable for some people to hear about. And I even show emotion related to those things, because it is very emotional and it can feel very personal. And so I did talk about the death threat. I did talk about the arrest, because I just think it was important to kind of just talk about there are consequences to those actions. I'm not going to give a play-by-play about it. The person was arrested. If they get sentenced, maybe, the court date's coming up, and maybe if they get sentenced, maybe I'll mention that. But I don't think the details really need to be shared publicly. I think just kind of an overview of this is the reality, this is what the consequences are, this is what the process is, and giving resources to those who might also be suffering the same kind of bullying and harassment and threats that I did. And again, I'm going to put the link in the description below to the FBI website so that you can report death threats and stalking and things like that. So check that out, and I'll put a link to the video up here in case you missed it. But I do want to give a shout out. In that video, I put out a challenge to other YouTube creators to talk about their own cyberbullying and cyber harassment. I just, you know, it's funny because I look through the comments and some people are like, you know, and of course they're the ones who hate me, but you know, nobody else ever talks about this. You're the only one. You must be making it up. And no, I'm not the only one. Every single YouTube creator, man, female, everybody, liberal, Democrat, right-wing, left-wing, religious, I mean, everybody gets it. And I don't care who you are, it's not funny and it's not acceptable behavior. And we all get it, and that's why I put out the challenge. I was really hoping that other YouTube creators would talk about it so again we can start shedding some light on this, and maybe, I don't know, the dreamer in me may be hoping that someday we can affect some change. I want to give a shout out to Ms. J Travels and the Glamping Guys. They both did videos in response to my challenge to talk about cyberbullying, and I'm going to put links to both of their videos below so that you can check them out. So I just want to thank you both for taking the baton, right, and running with it and taking the challenge and making the video, because I also heard from other YouTube creators who thanked me for having the courage to talk about it because they're afraid to talk about it. And no, they have every reason to be. I got bullied and harassed for talking about being bullied and harassed, but that's the nature of where we are right now. So, all right, I didn't want to spend too much time on that, but I did want to update you on the challenge. The second thing I wanted to kind of fill you in on today is my process of grief. In the early weeks and months, I was talking about, you know, this week in grief. And then over the months, you know, as it started, as I was healing, of course, you know, it would have been overwhelming to keep talking every week about it. But at the 6-month mark, and I'm finally, just this week, I actually felt happiness. Serenity and happiness, and finally feeling like I'm okay again. You know, more than okay. I actually had moments, I mean, I was literally like genuinely happy this week, and that's the first time since Capone passed that I can say that. And I am getting used to life without him, and just the fact that I am really makes me sad. Anybody who's dealt with grief knows, you know, that this part of the process is also difficult. The fact that you are moving on and the fact that you are able to be happy almost feels like a betrayal, I think, in a way. And okay, I'll change the subject so I can stop crying and talk about something I'm passionate about. It's funny, people watch my videos and I hear quite often that oftentimes it's meant, it feels like an insult, that my videos feel like a therapy session, that I use video for therapy, which I find really fascinating because this is nothing like therapy. No, it's not. This isn't like therapy at all. And I always just find it really interesting when people say that to me, and I hear it, I've heard it several times. I was thinking about that recently, you know, of course, grieving, and I do cry on videos. And, you know, what I find really interesting about that is how uncomfortable we have become with real emotion like vulnerability and crying and grief. And yet, when I swear I have noticed over the last year or so, no matter what new television show or movie I'm watching, within the first 5 minutes is an extremely personal and sometimes graphic, and I'm talking rated R, rated PG movies, sex scene. It just seems like that's the hook now to get you interested in a movie. The first 5-10 minutes, and I think that part of Hollywood feels like they're woke and all because they're even showing senior citizen sex scenes, which is fine. Senior citizens have sex and that's great. But I just find it really interesting that our media, that so much of what we watch and so much of what we consume is filled with sex and gratuitous violence and gratuitous sex and gratuitous nudity. And think about the violence against women that we see and children. I mean, like, oh, I was watching something else about the sex trafficking trade, and there was some pretty awful graphic stuff in there. And we have become so numb and so immune to that we don't even think twice about that. But when I cry on video over my dying dog, some people feel they need to shame me over that and say, I feel like I'm in your therapy session, which really feels like a shaming comment, telling me basically, stop it, right? When somebody says, I feel like I'm in a therapy session with you, or stop crying, or stop being a whiner, or you're such a drama queen, because I'm showing real emotion, real vulnerability, real wholeness of what it means to be a human, and people want to shame me in an effort to quiet me, and then go turn on the TV and watch two complete strangers have sex. Yeah, they're actors, and I guess that could be the difference, but I don't know. I don't really see a difference. And you know, a lot of the images that we see, the sexualized images, and the violence, and, you know, even some of the sex that we see isn't necessarily actors. And I don't know. I just think that's a really interesting commentary on where we are as a species, and sociologically, that's not the word I'm looking for, as a society, and that's okay. We've come to accept that's okay. It's okay to watch two adults have sex on TV constantly. Every time you turn on something new, it's constant sex, or violence, and that's okay. But to watch a grown woman grieve over her companion's death is somehow something that, oh no, oh my God, no, I don't want to see that. Oh my God, no, stop. And so, that helped me get over the crying. So now I can talk about it again without crying. But I've been wanting to share that because I think it's really interesting. You know, that this isn't anything like therapy. not at all. Anyway, so that's where I am with grief. It's hard. You know, it's hard. It's going to be a process. I'm probably going to be grieving for a very long time. I also want to send out a special thank you and a special big hug of gratitude and appreciation for those of you who heard, honored, and respected my request to not keep asking me if I want another dog. I have made it very clear in several videos that I don't want another dog. And for those of you who heard that and have enough respect for me to not keep asking me about that, I just want to say thank you. It really means a lot. It's really been comforting to know that I am being heard, and that you're taking care of me by respecting my wishes. And thank you. I thank you for that. Okay. So, R.I.P. my good buddy. We all miss him. I know many of you miss him. All right. 3 years living in an RV. I really can't believe it's been 3 years. And if I were to say the number one takeaway that I have learned after being on the road 3 years is that I still have to take time to stop and appreciate where I am. It's no different than any other life. It's no different than living in a sticks and bricks and going to work every day. I think we still have to practice gratitude and practice mindfulness and practice living in the moment. And I find myself a lot of times getting really caught up in the day-to-day stuff of my life, work, and all the other things that consume my energy and my time. I've had to really make a conscious decision to kind of like a renewed cleansing, I guess, to weed out the things in my life that aren't serving me, that aren't making me feel good. I'm a fighter. Injustice drives me crazy. I don't like bullying. I mean, I was raised by a bully. I was bullied relentlessly in high school, so maybe that's why it's been so hard for me to deal with a lot of the stuff that I have dealt with. You know, and I think my point is that, and I've said this before in other videos, whether you're going to be living in an RV or buying a piece of land or living abroad or traveling abroad or whatever the next chapter of your life is going to be for you, you take you with you, and that never goes away. And for me, I'm a constant work in progress. I am constantly working on myself. And to me, that's really important because I want to be happy. I want to be content. I want to learn how to let go of things that don't serve me. And I think that's the biggest lesson I've had to learn. You know, as many of you know, I've been living in an RV for 3 years. I've been making videos for 2.5. I didn't expect this whole YouTube thing to be a part of my life, but alas, here we are. It is a part of my life, and it's been a huge learning curve. But what I have learned and where I'm at right now is that it doesn't matter you know, I'm out here living my life my way, doing what I love. I get to have a job doing what I love. I am like one of the luckiest people in the universe, and I am really grateful for that. I'm really grateful that I've had the courage, that I've had the tools, the capability to be able to chase my dream this way and really give everything up in the Bay Area and just buy an old RV and just throw caution to the wind and say, okay, and my business. Just throw my business. Like, you know, I had actually by the time I completely gave up my business, I'd been on YouTube for about 6 months. I was already pretty successful at YouTube. Patty on the fan club on Facebook put a post the other day, and it really brought me back. It was kind of perfect timing, because it might have even been the day that of the anniversary of my 3 years. And she said, oh my God, I sold my house, I bought an RV, I'm getting ready basically to drive out of the driveway, and I am so nervous and so afraid, and I'm paraphrasing Patty, sorry, and I'm so afraid and I'm so anxious. And she's like, help. And I just had to smile. And I want to share this because I think it's really important to know that that's normal. If you didn't feel fear and anxiety about making such a major life change, you wouldn't be human, and I'd be really, really worried about you. And this might come as a surprise to many of you. I felt exactly the same way. I know that a lot of people watch me and think that either I'm courageous or crazy, or maybe a little bit of both, and that's okay, or either one, I don't care. But I have fears too. I just choose to not let my fears control my life. I don't want to be limited by my fears. And I remember the day of driving out of my backyard. I had bought the RV. I had stayed in the backyard of my landlord of the house, of the apartment that I had been renting. They were out of the country, and I was house sitting for them. And it kind of just got to a point, I think I'd been in the backyard a couple of weeks living in the RV, and I was like really getting antsy. And even though I could have stayed longer, I think I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. And I remember driving out of the backyard that day, locking up the gate, taking the key and putting it in the mailbox in the front, locking me out forever, and driving away. And I was like, I don't even know where I'm sleeping tonight. What have I done? Oh my God, I'm insane. I have a business. I have a good life. I had a decent apartment. What the hell am I doing? And you know, all those thoughts went through my head too. And what soothed me in that moment was, and always, it was like, you know what? If it doesn't work out, I can go back. Nothing is set in stone. Nothing is permanent. Not even tattoos anymore. Nothing is forever. And so if you maybe keep that in mind, that if it doesn't work out, you can go back. No harm, no foul, no shame in that. At least you tried. And maybe that'll help launch you into whatever the next chapter of your life is, if you keep that in mind. Nothing's permanent. Go out and give it a try. Tell yourself that, you know what? This is just a test. This is just a test run. And I'll give it a month, I'll give it 3 months, I'll give it 6 months. If it totally sucks, I'll go back to my old life. And you know, and before you know it, 6 months turns into 3 years, and there's no way ever. I can't say ever. I can't see ever going back. My life, this is just what I've always been meant to do. I love the fact that I get bored pretty easily. I've always been like that with jobs. You know, pretty much once I conquer something, I'm done with it. And you know, I was like that with jobs. I mean, once I started learning, or once I stopped learning, once I learned how to do everything, and once it stopped becoming a challenge, I wanted to move on to my new challenge. And in my life, every day is a different challenge in its own little ways. I mean, sure, the longer I'm on the road and the more reliable my rig is, it's not as challenging. But, you know, still, I have little challenges, or at least variety. You know, maybe challenge is too strong a word, but I at least have variety every day to keep my brain, to keep my endorphins going and keep my brain active, you know, driving to a new location, even if I'm going to the same camp that I went to last year. You know, there might be people in my spot and I might have to go somewhere else, and that's happening. I swear more and more people are coming out here. It seems like all my secret spots aren't so secret anymore. there's a lot of uncertainty, which for me keeps me alive and keeps me active and keeps me sparked. You know, it keeps the spark alive in me. So I can't see going back. I'll stay this year because I've been traveling nonstop for 3 years, and because of, you know, losing Capone and dealing with that grief. This winter I did less traveling than I have ever done in any other 3 or 4 month period since I've been on the road, and I really needed it, and I really enjoyed just staying in one place for as long as I could legally before having to move, and just kind of really resting and just kind of getting, just it feels good. I'm in a place right now where this life just feels so natural to me. I walk into my rig after being out in the wide open space, and it's home. It really feels like home. For the foreseeable future, I can't see myself being in one place indefinitely. I just can't. It would be a slow death. I would be bored to death. I mean, I can land in a new spot and I can stay for 2 weeks and I can hike every trail and explore every nook and cranny, and then when I'm sick of it because I've seen everything, been there, done that, then I can move on and find something new to explore. And for me, that's just amazing and wonderful. And that's my 3 years on the road. Just really has gotten me to a place of feeling just really comfortable out here. To finish up with Patty's comment, it's normal to feel a little fear. If you didn't feel a little fear, I really would worry about you. One of my favorite quotes is that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the ability to move forward despite that fear. There's a million and one things that you could choose to be afraid of that can prevent you from doing the things you want to do, or you can put one foot in front of the other, plan as much as you can, and have enough faith in yourself. And I really think that's what it boils down to, having enough faith in yourself that no matter what goes wrong, you can handle it and just move forward. And the next thing you know, you're waking up 3 years on the road and you're going, wow, 3 years already. The other thing I want to talk about is another comment I saw on another RV forum a couple weeks ago from a newbie, and her comment was, I'm sick and tired, I'm exhausted from having to fly under the radar all the time. And what she meant is that, you know, we're living on public lands, we have to move every 2 weeks, and if you're stealth camping especially, it's really hard because you really do have to try to be as invisible as possible. So if you're stealth camping in cities or in more urban areas, it can get really exhausting. Remember the first year, I probably felt like that. I felt like I was on the fringes of society, and I kind of felt like I was doing something wrong, and that I had to hide, and maybe even a little bit of shame. You know, I didn't even tell anybody I knew. I didn't tell my colleagues. I didn't tell anybody, you know, from my former professional life. I told, of course, a few close friends, but I didn't tell any clients or colleagues or anything. Because I think I felt, even though I knew it was a conscious decision, I think that there was a little bit of shame. I mean, I'm living in a, you know, 19 lemon, you know? And I think for a lot of us who come out here, and I think especially those who are coming out here not necessarily by choice, but because of life circumstances, this is your only option, I can totally understand that feeling. And it really is, I think, based and rooted in just a shame. And my response to that is, number one, that'll go away once you get used to being out here and realizing that there are so many of us out here, and especially in certain areas, the snowbird areas, they're so used to us that we don't really even have to fly under the radar. I mean, they know we're there. They know that we're harmless. We're not homeless. You know, the whole idea about homeless people being dangerous and drugs and alcohol, that isn't the reality. I haven't really found that anybody looked at me that way. Maybe once or twice, you know, maybe in the beginning in the Bay Area, you know, and maybe a couple times when, you know, where was I, Mississippi, and I got a knock on the door from a police officer. But most of the time, I don't get that. And I think that anxiety about feeling like you're flying under the radar all the time, it's very valid. I can totally understand that feeling. I think a lot of us probably feel that in the first year, but I just want to say that that does go away. What we're doing is perfectly fine. It's perfectly legal as long as we follow the rules and the laws. We're allowed to do this, and many more people are living this life. And you know, the Nomadland book just came out, and I'm afraid that we're going to have a wild effect out here pretty soon. And for those of you who saw Wild, and the Pacific Crest Trail just exploded after that book and that movie, and I'm afraid we're going to have a little bit of an effect like that from Nomadland, the book. But yeah, we'll see. That's my little campsite chat. thoughts today about 3 years on the road. I'm gonna do another video on Sunday. I'm gonna reveal a new look. I have a brand new look, and I'll just leave it at that. And I'm gonna show you that on Thursday. And I just want to thank you all so much for being a part of this journey with me and being a part of the adventure. I'm very grateful that I have such a wonderful audience that I get to share my life with. And that, I mean, look at my life. I win. I win life. You know, there have been so many times in my life and so many years that I just really felt like the universe hated me. That, you know, I would joke with friends, it's like, why does the universe keep crapping on me? You know, and when somebody is born into the chaotic crap that I was born into, and then the subsequent crap that followed me through life, you know, I mean, it's kind of understandable how someone might feel that way. But right now I feel like I won. I won. I won the jackpot. And, you know, even with my grief and my sadness, and I'm slowly coming out of that, I'm exactly where I want to be right at this moment. So thank you for being here with me. And if you enjoyed this video and you want a lot more stuff like this, click below to subscribe. And I have some really exciting stuff coming on Patreon. More real-time updates that the general public isn't going to get. So if you want to know what's going on in my life in real time, go to Patreon. And certain levels of Patreon are going to get more close to real time than others. But there's a lot more on Patreon that I am not able to share with the public. So go ahead and join Patreon. I'd love to see you there. And I'll see you next time. In the meantime, be happy, be free, and be kind. Mwah.